Hello everybody, and just here and welcome back to Madoka Magica. I almost wanted to say a season, but no, it's just an episode. Episode 7, 8. Episode 8. Episode 7 was last week. Sorry, I kinda lost track on what I recorded and when, and time in general, because I've been ill the entire past week. That's why this episode is gonna go directly to YouTube and not on Patreon. Terribly sorry for that if you support me on Patreon for Madoka. But by the time this episode is out on YouTube, or soon after, episode 9 will be on Patreon. So it's just gonna be a week of a gap for you, essentially. Unfortunately, sickness doesn't choose when or who or where. And regardless of that, what happened in the previous episode is another point in the string, in the timeline of shit going to shit, essentially. Things going to shit, slowly but surely, slowly but steadily. Sayaka got the knowledge. She now knows what's up with the egg, with her soul being there and not inside of her own body. She got maybe not rejected by the guy she loves, but a rival appears, and she immediately jumped to the conclusion that I'm not a real human being. I'm just a zombie. How could I ask him to kiss my cold, unliving lips and whatnot? So a little bit of whatchamacallit? A little bit of very defeatist, very like everything's gonna go wrong, very pessimistic outlook. Who can fault her, honestly? I do believe that if she was given time to process the fact that her soul is now somewhere else, then she would have reacted better to the knowledge that for me, the one girl in the show who is in the Mahou Shoujo, that she also wants to pursue her friend. But everything kind of came crumbling down upon her at the same time, and something's got to give. And what gave was her sanity. I mean, in very plain words and in very plain show. It wasn't particularly subtle about Sayaka's sanity just dropping to zero. It was just plain and obvious. She just went berserk. She decided that she wants to reject the pain, and that, yeah, it's cool actually. I don't feel any pain, and I can go completely berserk. I can go psycho mode on that enemy, and the enemy can damage me, they can shoot me, they can stab me. Nothing's gonna happen, nothing hurts, because this is just a flesh golem that I'm controlling. It's a good outlook on one hand, where you are actually like a combatant this way, that you understand all the pros and cons and all the situation, which kind of also makes me wonder, why did Kyuubey not inform them of that? Because the knowledge itself would have been beneficial, right? I can see a parallel timeline where they have the exact same thing, where their souls are inside of the eggs, but they utilize it. They aren't entirely afraid of it, but rather utilize it as a last straw, right? If I use this fact that I can turn off my pain and treat my body just as a vessel, then I slowly use my humanity, and I don't want to do that. But if push comes to shove, it's a possibility. I mentioned during the previous episode Punishing Grey Raven. the gacha game, and it has the exact same. It goes the exact same route, essentially. Well, my imaginary route is where Punishing Ray Raven goes, where the characters do give up their human bodies and risk giving up their humanity if they turn off their pain receptors, they turn off their sleep module, they turn off their, I don't know, higher cognitive functions and whatnot. They risk losing their humanity, so that's like a last straw, a last hurrah. When nothing else can work, they turn off the pain receptors and fight through the pain, right? I can easily see a parallel universe where Madoka Magica goes in that exact direction, but alas, it didn't because nobody was informed of the fact, and it just drove Sayaka mad. And as I mentioned, it's yet another point in things just going to shit slowly but steadily, slowly but surely. Madoka is the only one pure, quote unquote, here. The only one who didn't go mad, the only one who isn't trying to kill others, the only one who doesn't have a tragic past, right? She's the most normal, most well adjusted. She has the perfect life with both of her parents present and living in a luxurious home. She has friends, she has family. All the other characters have some tragedy in their life that pushed them to becoming magical girls. That's something I noticed. Madoka, like, we know for sure that she will become a Mahou Shoujo. Meduga has to become Meguka. It's said so in the scriptures. But it's gonna make the effect all the bigger, all the stronger. Because someone with her perfect life and someone with a full knowledge of all of the cons of being a Mahou Shoujo, when she decides to become one, you know she's going down. You know something had to have happened to push her towards that decision. And I am awaiting impatiently for that moment. For the moment when Meduka eventually becomes Meguka. Anything else that I want to add? Not really. When it comes to today's episode, kinda hard to tell where it's gonna go. The previous one didn't really end on a cliffhanger. It just ended on. Sayaka losing her sanity, but besides that, no like thing to continue from, so to speak. So yeah, we're going into this episode pretty much completely blind, devoid of any expectations. And yeah, that's what we're gonna do. I didn't even have my breakfast yet. and we're already doing it raw. Going in blind. Okay, sound, I'm gonna need it to hear things. Subs, you're gonna need them to sync up your own copy. And of course, support. I need to remind you that you can support the channel monetarily on Patreon or Throne, and you can get early access to Madoka, to Simple Gear, to other non-seasonals. Or if you don't want to spend any money, you can still help the channel by sharing my content, spreading the word. It really does help a lot. So with that out of the way, we can start watching episode 8 of Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we are right where we left off. Yeah, the witch is already dead, the world is crumbling. You don't need to beat her lifeless body anymore. Yeah. Musical notes. Musical notes are healing her wounds, and was that Jesus of Rio de Janeiro? Ah yeah, shaft head. Can she have it though? Isn't Sayaka's gem going dark? Yeah, I doubt Madoka wants to go with you. And low on blood, probably. And with a couple of broken bones, maybe. Is Kyoko gonna be the new sane one? Is that gonna be like a role swap, essentially? From Sayaka being the sane one who just wants to help people, and Kyoko being the murder crazy one who doesn't give a fuck about humanity and whatnot. It swaps to Sayaka going psycho mode and Kyoko wanting to help Sayaka. Is that what we're going for? Because if so, I'm down. Matcha with honey and lime. I'm honestly having a similar feeling I had when I was watching Tokyo 24-Ku. Um, for a moment, for a good while actually, when watching Tokyo 24-Ku, I had that thought in my mind that there might be some timey-wimey shenanigans. And shit started going down. People started dying, people started being hurt, uh, existential crisis and whatnot. And my thought was, they can solve it by time travel. And it's in the realm of possibility. And I'm getting this exact distinct feeling watching Madoka right now. They didn't do time travel in Tokyo 24-Ku, spoiler alert. Thing went to shit and didn't get better. Much better. Dead people weren't resurrected. So I mean, it can go the exact same route in Madoka, but timey-wimey shenanigans or timeline shenanigans are hinted much stronger in Madoka than in Tokyo 24. You trade compatibility for your humanity. I mean, that's your interpretation. Why don't you become a rock? That's a lot of. That's a lot of. That's a lot to demand of her, is what I wanted to say. Okay, that's a enormous change in Sayaka. Like, Jesus. Complete 180. Like, has me wondering if there's something else here at play besides just Sayaka dealing with the fact that her soul was torn out. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a spur of the moment. And the darkness in her soul is growing. Oh, Homura's place. A guillotine? Not a guillotine, but the, like... In adventure games, you have that thing slicing through corridors. But I'm assuming it's the pendulum of a clock. Because I can also see a lot of gears there. Which again Leads me to believe timey-wimey shenanigans. Okay, something's actually written on her bowl of instant ramen. I wonder if someone translated that. Sorry if I'm sniffling, but I'm not entirely better yet. No shit! The curse of resentment. She might turn into a witch or something? Because she witnessed that before? Could you be a timey-wimey shenaniganer? She is a timey-wimey shenaniganer. Or a timeline-wimeline shenaniganer. Either of the two. Him. Okay, so we have a gender for Kyuubey. Oh, immediate change in color. From pure white to yellow. Okay, both are growing some remorse in their hearts. Except it has an actual tangible effect on Sayaka and not so much on Madoka. Did he always sound this girlish? Yeah, she's probably dead somewhere in the ditch, in the middle of a transformation into a witch or something. Hopefully not, but wouldn't surprise me if this show was to really drive the point home. Is Sayaka watching them from the bushes? Not from the bushes, but she is watching them. Okay, and so she's gonna lose herself in battle, essentially. As a way of coping. Kinda, sorta. Yeah, that's more black than blue by now. You really shouldn't have thrown away that grief seed. Hello, Homura. Okay, so she has a death wish. Yeah. New moon is close. Yeah, you will be dead if you don't purify your gem. I mean, you won't have to if you're dead. You'll never use magic if you're dead. Yeah. Yeah, she does give off this vibe. Okay. Okay. That's a sting. And we have a proper proclamation. Uh, yeah, that whatever Homura does is for Madoka. I'll kill you myself. Kyoko? Gonna pick up the grief seed? Hmm. Oh, oh. Oh, that's just a grenade. That's not even magic. That's just a grenade. Also, gears in her shield, which makes me believe it's not a shield, it's a face of a watch. Maybe. Hmm? Hmm? Okay, that's the angle we're going for. Homura Akemi. Oh, she's transforming into a witch. Yeah. Better question would be, who are you? Hard not to. Using Madoka's moment of weakness, of course. Yeah. Just a random chance, probably. Ah. Ah. The law of universe. Like the law that says magical girls have to give up their souls and fight witches and that can't be turned back. Could that be a law of the universe that could be changed? Possibly. Okay, we're just outright stating that. Okay, is this. Oh, time stop. Hello, Homura. And she has a gun too. Okay, the episode of reveals, it seems. Somewhere? Or somewhen? In a parallel universe or something? No, it's literally too late for her. Like, it's not a figure of speech. It literally is too late. Okay, I'm assuming Kyuubey works on a similar principle then. The body is somewhere, or the the soul is somewhere, and it can control all sorts of bodies remotely. Yeah? Okay, we have just straight confirmation. Incubator. Incubator. Yeah, incubator. Okay. And I guess Sayaka isn't a witch. I guess. I mean, you could have saved more if you took the grief seed. Okay, and she turns into a witch now? Or what's... Okay, yeah, probably. Okay. Does she turn or does she just get vaporized or something? I mean, makes sense. Not the interpretation of magical girls that I would have expected. That is like universally um, agreed upon, but a definition that does make sense. Not gonna lie there. Jesus Christ. That was a dense episode. Yeah, that was incredibly dense. Holy shit. There's no way I'd allow that. Okay. Whew. Man, this one was dense. Okay, let's go through it again and dissect it into more bite-sized pieces. How about that? Or should I say, shall we? Yeah. She goes completely mad. Rejects the grief seed on not just one but two occasions. I cannot help but see Sayaka as hmm, kind of getting her wish, in the meaning that she gave up on her life on multiple occasions. Her life being being grief seeds. First time she rejected it because she didn't know any better. Second time she rejected it consciously. Yeah, sure, I don't want to owe you anything. Madoka, let's go home. Yeah, and apparently, sure, the body can regenerate itself. Interesting bit that it regenerates itself with those like musical notes. We see that later as well. That's interesting. And that despite the body being regenerated and the pain receptors being turned off and whatnot, it still takes a toll on you after you dehenshin. Hmm. Yeah, you shouldn't fight. But of course, Sayaka now has the feeling, has the belief that she's no use for anything else. She's just a machine for fighting. She's just a machine for combat. Nothing more than that. And she doesn't let anybody tell her otherwise. She's extremely stubborn in her self-deprecation. Yeah, what would help me? Nothing, as far as we're all concerned. Yeah, how can anything help me? Later we learn that Madoka's wish could, potentially. I just want you to be happy. Yeah, why don't you join me then? Kyuubey said you'd be all powerful, so why don't you join me? But you won't, of course you won't, because you uh, put price on your life. Your life is precious to you. You don't understand what I'm going through, right? Really, Sayaka is really like rejecting everybody and everything over her grief. She's dealing with it in the worst possible way. Like, I cannot necessarily fault her for that, because it's one hell of a shitty situation to be in, but it still strikes me as very... maybe not entirely out of character, but she did a complete 180 in the span of just a couple of episodes, really. Yeah, you could be all powerful, but you just sit here and watch me suffer instead. Also, resentment. A lot of very, very negative emotions in Sayaka right now. Don't follow me. And of course, she regrets that, because Madoka, all things said and done, is her best friend. So of course she regrets the words she said, the actions she took. I'm such an idiot. I'm beyond help. But instead of... she's in a downward spiral. Instead of noticing that, oh, I said something bad to Madoka, I should go back and apologize, she's like, oh, I said something bad to Madoka, I'm beyond help now. I really am a monster. I really am losing my humanity. She's like self-propelling her loss of humanity, for lack of a better word. She really is like... it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, essentially, in case of Sayaka. Discussing Walpurgisnacht. Yeah, some photos. Floating in the air. I'm assuming it's a pendulum of a clock, but also looks like a couple of blades swinging in the air. That's an interesting place to live in, for sure. Also interesting detail that the gears are not moving. Despite the pendulum swinging, the gears are entirely stationary. Statistics, yeah. Statistics accumulated over however many times Homura went through this timeline. On average, this is when Walpurgisnacht happens, this is how it happens, this is where it starts. She can make an educated guess. Never heard of the Walpurgis coming to the city before. That's interesting. So it's not something like global or something like that. It's localized to a single city in the world or something? Maybe. Or multiple cities in the world, but not all around the world. Yeah, neither is trustworthy, so kinda hard to build a working relationship. Yeah. This is a cool detail, that the spear grows out of her gem. It doesn't manifest in her hands or anything like that, it just grows out of the gem. When they henshin, I'm assuming the gem becomes their costume and also becomes their weapon, so it's less visible that the weapon is a part of the gem. But in this case, I like it. I like this detail. This face. And yeah, Sayaka is depleting herself. All the faster because she took upon a curse. I'm assuming a curse of negative emotions, right? A curse of uh, resentment, a curse of grief, a curse mm, of just plain sadness, a curse of blaming herself. All those sorts of emotions that are very self-destructive, especially so in Sayaka's case. That apparently doesn't help. And apparently, a mental state of the wielder, mental state of the magical girl, has an effect on her soul gem, which would make sense because it's their very soul. If their soul becomes tainted with negative emotions, well, their soul literally becomes tainted. Killing that thing won't solve anything. Yeah, Homura knows. Homura knows that Kyuubey can take another body at any time. Hmm. Yeah, her soul gem is being tainted. If it's not purified soon, the damage will be irreparable. And immediate change in color. I became much more like vigilant to changes in color and to lighting ever since Yofukashi no Uta, because color and lighting in Yofukashi no Uta has so much significance. It's not even funny. I mean, it is funny at times, but it's like very significant part of what Yofukashi no Uta is. The use of color and lighting. Miki absent. Yeah, she's absent. Because she's stalking them. She's stalking the two of them. Hasn't come home. And from both of them smiling and him nodding eventually, I'm assuming he took the confession positively, and they're gonna be a boyfriend and a girlfriend now. And Sayaka is just watching from the shadows, biting her nail. Kinda relate. I watched, well, not watched, but I knew the exact day when a girl that I was in love with would confess to my best friend, and on the other day I knew that he agreed. That was a great feeling. Thankfully, I was young then, well over it now. Sayaka is living in the moment, so of course it's biting at her. It's extremely fresh in her mind. In a couple of years, she's gonna be laughing about it. Assuming she can be saved. And I think that's a safe assumption because we were like literally said, "Yo, Madoka, you can do anything." Here's the thing though. You better formulate that wish well. You better formulate it well. Because I have a fear that it might be a genie's wish. That Madoka wishes, I want to become a god, and she becomes a god of stereo speakers. Because there are all sorts of gods in Japan, everything has their own deity, right? If she wishes to become all powerful, then some price is imposed on that. If she wishes to revert the time, good job, Madoka, we're back to the Cambrian period, right? Formulate your wishes well. I don't know how significant an intention behind a wish is in this universe. So far, we didn't really have any. Uh, did we not have any genie's wishes? Kyoko wished for her father to be heard, and he was heard, but through mind control, not heard because people wanted to hear him. Sayaka wished for her friend to be healthy now, and he was snatched by someone else. Kinda sorta genie wishes. Kinda sorta. Not directly, not immediately. It's not like, oh yeah, your friend is healthy now, but he resents you for some reason, right? It's not, yeah, your father becomes heard among people, but also becomes a subject of ridicule, or no immediate effect. So kind of hard to call it genius wishes, but also kind of is. And yeah, the resentment grows, and apparently familiars appeared. Right here, right there. Oh no, it's a different location. Yeah, with this cut, we changed locations. We're no longer there watching them. We're now somewhere else fighting the familiars. And her gem is really growing weak. Losing herself in battle, losing herself in combat. Yeah, you're killing yourself. And yeah, she is extremely stubborn to like a very weird degree. The only explanation I have is that she wants to throw away her life. That's genuinely the only explanation I have. Because she's going on about how, oh, I'm gonna fight witches as long as I can. I'm gonna help people as long as I can. I'm not gonna associate with you. I'm gonna do my own thing. Problem is, all those desires, all those wants of hers will be cut short when she's dead. Right? In general, I have trouble understanding this sort of a mindset where similar thing with Brain Anglaus in Overlord in the recent episode, just throwing their life away in the name of nothing, in the name of a principle, vaguely defined principle. Yeah, I really find it hard to understand. Like, I understand it from the story point perspective, but personally, I find it really hard. Like, if I was given a chance to, if I was given a choice to keep my honor and fight to the death and die in combat, or to bail, that would be the last you see of me. Because I'd be running the moment you said that. I give no fucks about honor, I give no fucks about principles. So it's hard for me to understand this mindset those people sometimes have. Yeah, you will die. Only when I can no longer kill any more witches will I die. Yeah, you'll die much earlier than that. Although, I guess being dead also means not being able to fight witches, so it's chicken and egg situation. And then I wouldn't be any use anyway. Yeah, you would be of no use dead. That's true. But why do you want to speed up the process? Someone like me has no other place in this world besides fighting, besides combat with witches. But again, you can't do that if you're dead. And yeah, talking about liars, and yeah, everything has to do with her. Everything I do is for her. I don't give a fuck about you. If you were just some rando, I wouldn't mind you dying, but you're Madoka's best friend, and you dying will affect her. So I want to save you. Not for you, but for Madoka. Just henshining. Yeah, I don't want to save you. I want to spare Madoka the grief. If you keep making Madoka suffer, might as well kill you right here, right now. Why prolong her suffering? The sooner you're gone, the sooner Madoka can process her grief and get over that. I mean, that's not entirely unreasonable stance to have. Kyoko ex machina. I really was hoping that, like, Sayaka was scared shitless, and I had the impression that she understood the situation after Homura got so incredibly serious about it, that it finally got to her head that, yeah, I can really fucking die, and yeah, it will have impact on Madoka, and I don't want my friend to suffer, and that she will run away, grab the grief seed as she's running, and disappear. I really was hoping for that, but apparently she's too far gone. She gives no fucks about herself, she gives no fucks about Madoka, she gives no fucks about anything. She's completely and utterly blank and void and cares not about anything whatsoever. Except fighting witches, but not even that, because she doesn't want to fight the witches forever. She wants to die. She just wants to die, but doesn't want to admit that. That's the vibe I'm getting. Kind of a desensitization, or whatever you want to call it. It sometimes happens with people who have to process, who can't process their grief properly, or who have some suicidal ideations, who are heavily depressed, that they don't want to kill themselves necessarily, but they are walking along the edge of a roof, for example, because if I can finish my walk, cool. If I fall, also cool. They walk on the very edge of a sidewalk. If a truck crashes into me, that's fine. If it doesn't, oh well, I guess I live another day. And that really reminds me of Sayaka right now. If I can kill a couple more witches, cool. If I die in the next hour, also cool. I don't care either way. You can't use that weird technique of yours while I'm holding onto you like this. This is interesting. This is important. Homura cannot teleport, cannot use timey-wimey shenanigans when someone's holding on to her. Question. Is that actually the case? Or is it something else? Or is it that if someone's holding on to her, or she's holding on to someone else, and she stops time, then the person she's in contact with can also move freely alongside her? Or is it the case of if someone's holding on to her, but she stops time, then that person just turns into red mist or something? Or they can exist in that stopped time environment, but only Homura can live in that environment. Because from like a scientific standpoint, if you stop time, and even if your body is unaffected by it, you will suffocate. Because assuming everything stops, the particles of oxygen in the air also stop. And you can't exactly breathe them in because the air won't move. Like, you can catch some air in your nostrils, you can maybe like grab handfuls of air and push it directly in your nose, but the air won't move, it won't flow if time truly is stopped. Perhaps Homura is an exception to that rule. My what's going on? Yeah, that was my alarm clock ringing, and I'm using my phone as a camera, so I had to roll back out there and snooze it. Not snooze it, disable it. Anyway, perhaps Homura, since she's the source of that time power, is an exempt to that rule, and she can or maybe she can control it precisely, right? She stops the time except a bubble of air in front of her so that she can breathe, right? Just giving an example. Meanwhile, Sayaka, Kyoko, isn't. She doesn't have those powers, so she would just die. And Homura doesn't want that. Yeah, you can't use this technique, but she can summon a flashbang grenade from an alternate timeline. And this is important. Her shield really is a watch. It really is just an overgrown watch, isn't it? The gears are turning. Something is charging up. And she's no longer here. And again, I love that she disappears between frames. There's no flash, there's no after image. One frame she's here, the other frame she's not. It really helps. Show her powers on like a meta level, right? That even in the show, she just can stop time and disappear, right? There's nothing to help the audience kind of ease through that. Even on the meta level, she has complete control of time. I don't know how to better explain it, but I love it. And yeah, flashbang. Bang out! And she's gone. Yeah, this discussion on the train really didn't help Sayaka. She started questioning, what am I even fighting for? Am I fighting to save scumbags like this? Really? Is that the world I'm trying to save? It's like another kind of common trope in how should I call it? Hero's corruption, right? The hero wants to save the world, but encounters some major evil, corruption at the very bottom of the country and whatnot, and they start questioning, is this world really worth saving? Or should I just throw it all away and become one of them and become the dark vigilante and whatnot, right? Or should I just let this world die? Just maybe save my loved ones and the rest can just go to hell. Yeah. Essentially like early episodes of Shield Hero, kinda sorta Arifureta. Although we all know that Hajime from Arifureta is really just a big softie, despite his outwards appearance. Also super excited for Arifureta season 3. I'm waiting for that with bated breath. But yeah, that's yet another trope of hero's corruption. The hero being unable to process grief and negative emotions is one. Hero witnessing the corruption of the world is another. Hero finding some truth about themselves, right? Oh, I'm really a son of the Demon King. How can I call myself a hero? Am I destined to be evil? Will I grow to be another Demon King? Or is it nurture or is it nature, right? There are multiple ways of facilitating hero's corruption. In this single episode and in the previous one, All of those hit Sayaka. All of those. It's not just one factor that facilitates her corruption. It's all of those. Finding uncomfortable truth about themselves, checked. Uh, evil. Bad, negative emotions that continue unadulterated and uh, without the hero giving themselves a chance to process them, and with hero continuing on a downward spiral of rejecting people and then seeing themselves as trash for rejecting them, and thus rejecting more people, and thus being even more conscious of being bad and continuing downwards. That's Sayaka precisely. Witnessing the corruption of the world that makes them question if it's worth saving. Sayaka. Personal grief with her loved one, with her object of affection being taken by someone else. That's another. Everything hits Sayaka at once. All the tropes, all the waste of heroes' corruption. So how can she not get corrupted in a situation like that? I thought initially that this is the moment when she turned into a witch and she just killed everybody, and we see the musical notes. Same thing that healed her wounds. And the wish she made was for the sake of her friend, who's a musician. Wishes affect magical girls. Mami wished to be tied to life or whatever, so her powers became ribbons that tie her to life. Sayaka's wish had to do with healing, and so she has a healing factor. Homura's wish probably had something to do with I want to take back time, and thus she was given time powers. We knew that, but this is like a very visual representation of the wish affects the magical girl. Do you hate me too? Madoka doesn't have an ounce of hate in her. That's something I noticed. She has grief, sure, but not hate. Not an ounce of it. And yeah, here we have like a full confirmation that maybe a regular Mahou Shoujo's wish wouldn't be able to like turn back time, or maybe it would because Homura managed to turn back time. But maybe it wouldn't be able to change the laws of the universe when it comes to how magical girls operate, how they work. But you're so strong, you're so special, you're essentially almighty. So you could do that. And this is like a very outright statement. Yeah, why am I so strong? I don't know either. Nobody knows. I wonder if Kyuubey is truthful here. I think he is. I don't think he has a reason to lie. Or rather, Kyuubey doesn't lie. Kyuubey omits detail. Yeah, you might be able to bend the very laws of the universe itself. Wish doesn't begin to describe it. Yeah, you're so special, you can even become like omnipotent. Genuinely. And I don't think Kyuubey lies here. I really don't think that. Kyuubey always speaks truth. Just doesn't say things he doesn't need to say. When you ask him a question, he will answer truthfully. He won't lie to you. When he talks about things, he doesn't try to lie to you, right? That's very interesting dissonance in Kyuubey, because subconsciously you see him as this big huge liar who uses the magical girls and lies to them for his own gain and whatnot. But in reality, when did he lie? Hasn't happened. Hasn't happened. The contracts are exactly as stated. There's no genius wish. It's just that it's hard to predict consequences of fucking around with reality and with fate, quote unquote. And that creates the dissonance, because subconsciously you believe him to be that big fat liar. But in reality, when you look into it, he's not. He's entirely and completely genuine. If you asked him a question, he will answer truthfully. If you asked him what was he and what's his goal, he would probably not hide it either, whatever his goal is. Maybe it's, I don't know, summoning a dark god by using the power, by sacrificing the souls of 111 magical girls, or whatever. And he would be open with that. That's the vibe I'm getting. He omitted that when talking about himself, but he would tell you if you asked. Yeah, he would be able to do anything. And I honestly thought this is the moment that Madoka makes the contract. But also, the use of color, again, something I came to start noticing from Yofukashi no Uta. Purple to red. Danger. I'll become a sieve. Well, Kyuubey is gonna become a sieve. Also, time stop. All the hosts appear at the same time. What Homura did was she stopped time, she emptied her mag, and then she started time, so that all the bullets fired at the same time. I love it. I thought for a moment that it might be, I don't know, shotgun blast. For a moment, I had like a little bit of hope. A little bit of hope. Mami, is that you? Are you back from the dead? Did Homura go back to a separate timeline and bring you here? Or what happened? But no, it's just Homura with a fucking Glock or something. Yellow. Yeah, Homura with a gun. I love how she doesn't limit herself to just magic. Flashbang, gun, nothing is beyond her. Honestly, I always like this trope. When you have like a mage character, a wizard or whatever, but that wizard has a shotgun. And it's not afraid to use it. Like, sure, fireball is cool and all, and maybe you have some anti-fire magic, but parry this, you filthy casual. Right? I love it. I love this trope. You didn't have to kill him? Yeah, he's not dead. And yeah, don't demean yourself by saying that you can't help anyone or that you're useless. Think about all the people who care about you, like myself, for example. That's the first time we see Homura actually show emotions. And they are very strong and come pouring out. And all of that makes me really wonder what prompted all of it, what started it all. How it all started. How did Homura get her timey-wimey powers? And how did she decide that she's gonna use them to save Madoka? I have a feeling that in the original timeline, Madoka made her wish, and she died, perhaps during Walpurgisnacht, and Homura made her wish for the sake of Madoka. That I will become a Mahou Shoujo if I can go back in time and save Madoka. And thus, she continues going back in time and trying to save each and every iteration of Madoka. And if she fails, she goes back to another timeline. And if she fails, she goes back and back and back and back, however many times it takes. Why don't you understand that there are people who would grieve if you died? Yeah. Selfless to a fault, Madoka. Also, cool effect that we see those drops of water despite the fountain being so far away, and they tell us that yeah, Homura is crying without showing us that Homura is crying. Only here does it show that. Why don't you consider the people who try so hard to protect you? Yeah, why don't you care about me, about my efforts, about my efforts to protect you? Vague recollection. This is interesting. Have we met somewhere before? I wonder how does that work? Because assuming it's a completely separate timeline, Madoka has no right to remember that. Because Homura didn't exist in her timeline before when she met her at school. So what's the deal? Contact with Homura kinda rubbed a little bit of timey-wimey powers on Madoka? Just enough to make her feel that they might have met, but not enough to like fully, I don't know, realize it. Interesting. Perhaps Madoka herself, she has so much latent power inside of her that maybe it acts as an amplifier. That being in the presence of timey-wimey magic, like in the sheer presence of it, already gives her a sliver of it. I wonder if that's the case. That Gomen really sounded like Hibiki. I keep forgetting that Aoi Yuki voices fucking everybody. Everybody, everywhere, in every show. Green. It's too late, but no, I'm sorry, I have to go. I wonder why did the Homura become so extremely emotional here? Why was she trying so heavily to stop Madoka from going after Sayaka? Perhaps because she knows that Sayaka is gonna turn into a witch, and that will inevitably lead to Madoka wishing that Sayaka didn't become a witch? Maybe. And yeah, Kyuubey, you little creep. If it wasn't known that he's a creep, well, here he is eating his own body, and his body looks like a pile of snow, not even like a body. Immediately compose herself. Second time you've killed me, yeah. Timey-wimey shenanigans, yeah, that's her power. And she's not from this timeline. We have confirmation for everything. Yes, Homura's powers have to do with time. Yes, she's not from this timeline. Yes, Madoka can fix it all with her wish. Like, all the theories I had so far confirmed. Everything confirmed in this single episode. Incubator. That's a wordplay if I've ever seen one. Incubator. Incubator. Kyuubey eats used grief seeds. If you can call throwing them into the hatch on his back eating. Grief seeds are used when they suck out the corruption out of soul gems. Thus, by the time Kyuubey eats them, the grief seeds are full of corruption. Seed. Seed grows into a witch, as we know. Incubator. Kyuubey doesn't eat the grief seeds. He incubates them into more witches, into powerful witches, into one big witch during Walpurgisnacht. Are all the witches whose seeds he consumed are gonna be hatched? For what purpose, though? Interesting. And of course, she's eating. Yeah, she understood that, yeah, this world isn't worth helping. It's not worth saving. Balance of hope and despair in the world cancels out to zero. Yeah, I understand what you meant. It's all hopeless. I even heard my best friend say sorry! Like, she really is in a downward spiral that she powers herself. If she only said, sorry, Madoka, I was in a bad place mentally, I didn't mean what I said, Madoka would be like, cool, I'm glad you're back, Sayaka. I love you, you're my bestest of friends. I already forgiven you. Simple. But of course, she's too deep into her despair to know that. Someone else must be cursed in exchange, and it's most often the magical girl who made that wish. The last straw, the last bit of grief, falls onto the soul gem and causes fucking everything to happen. This is something. This is something. That's young Sayaka, sitting in a chair watching the concert of her friend. This is something. Shadows playing on violins. Close up on young Sayaka, her friend on the stage. That's... Who's that? Sayaka has short hair, Homura has straight hair, Kyoko has a ponytail. This looks like Madoka? Vaguely? Like Henshin Madoka. And yeah, explosion. And she gets turned into a witch. This is something. I've no clue what it is. Wait, it has the detail at the top. The exact same detail that a soul gem has. Yeah, it's her soul gem that's transforming. It shattered. And there was this inside. Something that looks vaguely like a grief seed. Folds out. Yeah, it really looks like a grief seed. Grows. grows even more. Then the center cracks, revealing something, some patterns. Vague black scribbles. And yeah, Sayaka is lost. That's a big moon. Like, super big. And we again have this industrial landscape that always tells us which world is close. Well, often tells us which world is close. Which world? Created by Sayaka this time around. Women who have yet to fully grow are called girls, right? Right. It only makes sense that you, who will one day grow into witches, be called magical girls. Witch being Mahou or Majo or something like that in Japanese, so Mahou Shoujo could be reasonably translated to witch girls. Young witches, witches in the making. And one has been made. God fucking damn it. What an episode. What an episode. We got so many reveals, so many confirmations. So many things have happened. Incredibly dense, like scarily so. We now, but in that denseness and in that everything going to shit, we have a glimmer of hope. Madoka can technically fix it all. She can fix everything. She can fix magical girls of the now, of the future, and of the past. Why not? If she's all powerful, she might be able to turn all of the witches back into magical girls. Or even better, back into girls. She could wish for elimination of witches and of magical girls, so that no supernatural factor exists in this world. She could wish for that, and that wish would be granted, from what we know. Also, interesting bit at the end when Kyuubey says that magical girls who will eventually become witches. It really is a chicken and an egg situation. It's not that witches are some monsters that need to be fought by magical girls the way you usually have it, right? One day the sky cracked open and swarms of vaguely insect-like looking monsters started pouring out, and only young women, young girls are able to wield the power of the thingamajig that allows them to fight the monsters, right? It's a very common, very usual plot. But it's always the humanity and humanity's defenders versus the otherworldly threat. Aliens, ghosts, some vaguely defined creatures, right? Noise from Symphogear, whatever the fuck was the enemies in Strike Witches, right? It's always us versus them. In this case, it's us is them. Magical girls and witches are the same, simply at different stages of development. If there were no witches, there would be no need for magical girls. If there were no magical girls, there would be no witches. Witches exist because magical girls eventually turn into them. And magical girls exist to fight the witches. It's an endless loop, endless cycle. Probably facilitated by Kyuubey, an incubator who incubates magical girls into witches, perhaps. So we know that Kyuubey might be behind it all, probably is. We know that magical girls eventually turn into witches. So, again, if magical girls didn't exist, witches wouldn't exist, and the other way around. But we don't know one thing. To what end? What's the end goal here, right? What's the reason why Kyuubey does all of that? That we do not know. Yeah, I have no clue. I have no ideas. That one thing, I have no ideas. As much as I was able to put two and two together and figure out that Homura is using some timey-wimey shenanigans, that perhaps there are multiple timelines involved, that Madoka might be able to fix everything with her wish. Kyuubey's motives are hidden from me. Completely, wholly, and utterly. Yeah, that was an extremely dense episode, and a lot has been happening during it. What was I about to say? That yeah, a lot of shit is going down situations, right? Everything goes bad at once, suddenly. And that leads me to believe that really Madoka is the last hope. Madoka's wish. Everything might eventually go to shit. Sayaka dies, Homura dies, Kyoko dies, everybody dies, the world gets destroyed. Only Madoka is left alive, and she makes a wish to fix it all. I have a feeling that might be the case. Yeah, I don't think I have anything more to say about it. Oddly enough, it was such an incredibly dense episode, and yet I'm found at a loss of words. There are two unknown things still. Two. One, why the cycle of witches and magical girls? What's the end goal here? And two, what exactly led Homura to make herself a defender of Madoka? Two questions. And it's only episode 8. We still have like 4 more to go. So I fully believe that they will answer those questions. Probably sooner rather than later. And I also have a feeling that Meduka will become Meguka only in like the finale. Because if she didn't become one here, they're probably keeping it. They keep edging us with that until the finale, or maybe an episode before, but no earlier. Great episode. I mean, what else can I say? But maybe you have something to say. And if so, do let me know down in the comments below what did you think of this episode, my reaction, my theories. No spoilers! Please, I beg of you. Do not spoil me anything. It's just 4 more episodes to go, then you'll be able to talk about anything. But before that, please don't. If you do want to talk spoilers, my Discord is open here, also link in the description. Join it, there's a Madoka Magica channel, you can join that channel and you can post whatever spoilers you want as long as you use spoiler tags in there. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Madoka Magica, but also Symphogear. The concert, we're going to be streaming the concert this Saturday, so might want to stay tuned for that. Whatever other seasonals and non-seasonals are coming, and still from this series we have Overlord finale to watch eventually. Yofka Shinota finale is also coming. Hataraku Sama season 2, and that's about it. And I'm gonna be streaming my look at future seasonals, so you might want to stick around for that as well. Support the channel if you want monetarily on Patreon or Throne, links in the description. On the Patreon for $10 a month you get early access to non-seasonals like Madoka, like Symphogear, like whatever comes next, and for just $1 you get a role on the Discord, and you also get a place in the credits. On Throne you can pitch in directly towards my purchase of better lighting, better camera, stuff like that, and if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever but still want to support the channel, sharing my content, spreading the word, engaging with my videos all together and with my channel is really the best way you can help the channel without spending any money whatsoever, because the growth of a channel is really mostly facilitated by the word of mouth. So with that out of the way, we can we can stop this recording, and that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers. And here's the list of Patreons that support me, and you can be one of them, and you don't have to give up your soul for that.